Don't all talk at once. So moved. I move that we approve.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Anson.
Okay.
Did he second that?
A second.
Okay, great. Do we have any questions about these minutes from last time?
Yeah.
Hearing none, I'll call a vote to approve the minutes, and the people online, Jamie can do a roll call.
Yeah. Deb.
Yes, here.
Ron.
Yes.
Lydia.
Yes.
Anson.
Yes.
You, Patrice. You're muted, but I heard. I can read your
Yes,
lips.
yes. Hey, I'm sorry I'm not there. I can't find my keys this morning.
Easy to this fun. They have the stairs.
I was screaming at the last minute because I couldn't find the computer, so here we are. Okay, now that I have the agenda, I realized that we skipped welcome and introductions. We do have two guests today, so let's go around the room. I'll start. I'm Deb McDonough. I chair this committee.
David Kuhnhart, voter in Scarborough. Bill Donovan, town council member.
Paul Lyons, Scarborough resident.
Jeff Gezick, an alternate on the committee.
Jamie Fitch, sustainability manager.
Lydia Jop, vice chair.
I'm Alan, member. And then
Sure.
the folks online are nicely labeled with their names, so we have Anton and Patrice online. So, any questions or comments about the agenda? I have a question. Shall we flip these two things?
If you want to.
Presentation first,
Sure.
and then see how much time is left to talk about Superfund cost recovery program.
Yes, this is gonna take me just a second to get my ducks in a row to share the screen.
While you work on that, well, I'll just sit here, I guess.
Right.
I thought I had something to say, but it left my brain. Goodness gracious. I was in Lewiston last night until the election results were ready, because I was monitoring that for the league. And so I didn't get home until 11.
Ooh.
I'm not that great on this. Anyway, I sleep a lot now. Okay, so we are gonna switch the order here and no objections to that, and we will begin with new business, which is LD 2112, an act authorizing municipalities to form community choice aggregation programs to procure electricity. And David, I think you're up.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate your willingness to hear about this. This is a bill that is active in the EUT committee, Energy Utilities and Technology Committee of the legislature. That's a joint committee, so they're both reps and senators. And yesterday had another work session. It seems as though they're getting very close to the end of it. But the fundamental question today is, what can community power or community choice energy aggregation do for Maine? Next, please. And I think that there's going to be a very brief agenda. I'm going to talk about what our values are, what some state experiences with this program elsewhere, and particularly in California and New Hampshire and Massachusetts. Next, please. And any evaluation of a new program, of course, gets us to the heart of what our values might be. And the values that those of us who are pushing ahead on this, and by the way, I see the Maine Community Power Alliance at the bottom. I'm a member of that small group. I am unpaid. I'm a total volunteer. There is nobody that I'm shilling for. This is just my belief that this is in the public interest. What do we gain? We gain more local control. We gain nonprofit management potentially of the supply side of your bill. We're talking about offering additional choice for greenhouse gas free energy and savings for other things like distributed energy management and more innovations. One of the core things that's true about this, because it is only initiated with a local vote, is that it is a way to enhance trust in understanding the energy delivery system and the energy supply system, and it definitely enhances transparency and public oversight. It also is a way to increase jobs and motivation. We can choose our own future. What do you value is the core question here. When it comes back to our town and perhaps to a vote of the town council, those values should come to the fore. Next, please. And okay, what are we talking about? What is the core thing here that we're talking about? It's an organization of the contracts that provide the supply side of energy. It is not, and I repeat, not a change in ownership of the poles and wires. It is not our power, which fails in the public not too many months ago. It is just so it doesn't require upfront capital to start this. There is state enabling legislation in Maine since 1999 that allows this to happen because Maine is already deregulated and already large institutions, Maine Medical, various large companies are doing direct acquisition of contracts for supply. Municipals for their own meters have this and are doing this now already as a separate category of buyers. So this new law would allow municipalities, counties to, if they choose to opt to make a vote, and then everybody within their jurisdiction is automatically in, and anybody who wants to opt out can opt out. And that's one of the things that's going on in the discussions in the legislature is who can opt out and how do we protect LIHEAP beneficiaries and low and moderate income folks. Those details are being worked out right now. So what does it do? You set up a joint powers agency or authority, joint powers authority. There are several of those that exist in Maine. And they would be licensed to become an aggregator of contracts on the supply side of your bill. Still, all of our bills would come from CMP, but and as they are today, they're divided into two portions: poles and wires, the distribution, transmission and distribution, and the supply side. And the supply side, if we voted for it, would say X Joint Powers Authority or X Community Power Entity. The PUC still gets to set renewable portfolio standards, but if we get in, the member communities get to decide what their renewable portfolio standards are and what choices they offer. In New Hampshire, where my family has had a house for 63 years, our family has already elected to go 100% renewable on our community power in that little town, just as a FYI. And it's less expensive than Eversource used to be before this all came into effect. It offers more nimble pricing, and this is why I think that the chair of the PUC in Maine today is supportive of this, because they go out and make their contracts for supply once a year. That's the way the law pushes them to do that. It's inflexible. They can't be as market nimble as they would like to be, and they would like to have additional competition. I'll show you what's happened in New Hampshire about that. More independence in setting rates. Members can set those, and there is definitely more public transparency because the group that would be managing this would be a joint powers authority, members of whom would be local electeds from the community that is in, or communities that are in that JPA. Next, please. So they'll be totally transparent. 10 states have authorized community choice aggregation. The Lean Energy US is a nonprofit that sort of tracks and advocates for additional states. But as you can see, these are blue states and red and purple that have been in, and states that are considering it right now to get in. So there are a lot of different folks. So almost 15 or over 15 million people in communities across the country are covered by community choice aggregation. Next, please. And so in New England, it very specifically, Massachusetts was the first state to this. And they have authorized almost 200. And I'm not sure precisely the number that are active. As a matter of fact, in Massachusetts, a number of, I would call it broker entities, for-profit entities jumped in and said, we can help the towns, we'll do it, and they sold their services to towns. And there's a lot of different kinds of experience with that way of doing it. In New Hampshire, when this was authorized, a few brokers jumped in and they successfully sold their services to 2 or 3 towns. But very quickly, the nonprofit JPA was presenting itself with a more trustworthy, more transparent approach, and immediately almost over 70 different jurisdictions said, we're in, we want to be a part of this. So these are big cities and small towns in New Hampshire. There's no really big cities, but there are as a variety of different ones. More than 40% of the population. Rhode Island has some. Maine, as I say, we're authorized to have all, but only those municipalities that have their own dam and supply their own energy, or their own windmill on island, or whatever, are the ones who are active right now. Next, please.
We have a hand online, so
Oh,
we'll take
I'm
a
sorry.
question. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah.
Is it okay to ask a question, or you prefer I wait till the end?
Go ahead.
You can you just clarify about the cost? You said a couple things that sounded to me like they conflicted, and maybe I'm not fully understanding. But at first you said there's no upfront cost to doing this, and then I just heard you say that there's brokers who are selling their services to the municipality. Can you just explain what's happening there?
Good question. And there's no billions of dollars of upfront costs because there's no buyout of energy infrastructure, the transmission and distribution system and substations and so forth. That's not a part of this. Though everybody who wants to participate has in one way or another to be sold or persuaded to get in. Brokers have succeeded in selling their services because they have been able to persuade some that they can more efficiently and more nimbly get into the market and assemble contracts. In the case of Maine, it would be more advantageously than the standard offer. So or equal to the standard offer, which is provided by the PUC in Maine. So
Is the experience you're seeing so far that they're able to negotiate contracts for lower than the standard offer, including their cost of services?
Yes. And remember that there is a big price difference everywhere in the United States where there is deregulation of energy, and I shouldn't say everywhere. 29 states, I think, have deregulated, that is separated the utilities from the supply side and allowed private entities to come in and offer the supply side of the bill. So where was I going with that? Let me go. I think what will become illuminating is two slides forward from
We'll
yesterday.
just say that there's no upfront cost with brokers. They'll collect their fee off of the negotiation.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
thank you. I was gonna say that everywhere in the deregulated states, there is a big difference between wholesale generation of energy and retail sale of energy. There's a big difference. And the parties in the middle capture that difference. The question is, who is going to capture that difference? And the utilities, including in Maine, say, we're indifferent because we don't capture anything. It's not us. We're just passing through the contracts that the PUC sets up. So you can do this. This is fine. But in fact, I think you'll see that utilities have some interest in the pricing of the supply side. And we definitely saw that in New Hampshire. So there are a few pennies available to anybody who presents themselves as an enterprise that can be a community entity provider or a competitive energy provider is the actual phrase in Maine that's already in law, a CEP. So in California, the first such CCA was founded in 2010. I happen to have been a member of that board by being a local elected official in Corte Madera, California. I was a member of that board, not from the beginning, but later on when they were maturing. That that experience has grown to 25 CCA entities that cover almost 15 million people in California alone. Why? Because they have been doing a good job. Almost all of them have a higher renewable selection achieved than was expected. When we all began in 2010, the public utilities were saying, oh, you could never have more than 15% of the supply side be solar. You can't do it. Energy engineering wise, you can't possibly do it. The Marin Clean Energy today has 100% greenhouse gas free energy, and it is less expensive than the PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric Energy. So some of the profits that are earned in the middle can be used for public purposes and are. MCE is now investment grade, so they can turn around and offer low-cost loans to people who want to do community solar, who want to build EV charging, who want to do a variety of different innovative things that this committee has been doing over years. And in New Hampshire, the legislation, which also, like Maine, allowed for a deregulated program to exist, but it never got off the ground because it was an opt-in system, not an opt-out system.
You mean the programs like our other suppliers that choose?
Yes, yes, we have. And some of you may be independent. You might independently be buying your own energy. Certainly, if you have a large solar array, you're doing it and you're kind of off the table. But as of January this year, the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, which is that nonprofit entity, has 62 operating members, 8 who are launching, and 7 more who want to launch. So it's over 70. On average, there is lower cost of supply than the investor-owned utilities. There is definitely a higher clean energy content that is offered as a choice. There is more local control, and this is something that a lot of different people, red counties and blue, want is we want to control our own decisions and not have it be a big utility coming from another state or another country. And the collaboration that's resulted has led to a lot of collaboration among people who are members of those different energy committees. And they have formed their own nonprofit called Clean Energy New Hampshire, just purely for the benefit of sharing data and information, how to do things, how to build community solar, how to do all these different innovations. Next, please. And here's the actual objective experience that has occurred over the last 2 years of the cost of the energy supply side. The light blue, or what is that, periwinkle, is the range of utility charges for the supply side of their bill, ranging in 2023, in the spring of 2023, when this got launched, from 14.5 cents to 25.5 cents per kilowatt hour. The dark line with dots on it is the pricing, the actual pricing selected by the Community Power Coalition for all of their members. And when they came online, when we came online in 23, very quickly, the utilities who were, oh, we're indifferent, we have no control over that, their cost of supply plummeted from 20 the Eversource who serves us went from 22.5 to 12 cents in a matter of months. And the periwinkles narrowed down because all of the utilities in Maine, and in New Hampshire, and there's small and large, for-profit and one co-op, have crunched their range of costs down. And so all the way through February, March of last year, every single customer in New Hampshire has saved money dramatically on the supply side of their bill. And recently, the utilities have gotten especially clever, and they have persuaded the PUC to change their way of doing the supply side and to take more risk and lower their costs even more because they want to push community power out. So they're very, very close. They're a penny or so away from one another in pricing. And it's going to be quite competitive going forward. But historically, this is what competition does.
Do the utilities in New Hampshire actively try to persuade residents to opt out?
You know, they're indifferent and they're not really doing that. They're just doing it through pricing. Pricing is very powerful.
Yeah.
That's why I was here trying to sell, putting a price on carbon a year ago. So they're, I think behind the scenes, yeah, but they're not really. They're not bold enough to do that when they have been saying all through the years, we're indifferent. We only pass through what others do for us. Next slide, please. And so what are the next steps? What's happening? I'm kind of on the upper right there, holding public outreach meetings, and we're doing this. I did one in Portland last night. We're trying to gain municipal support. There are now 3 or 4 municipalities that have sent their support into the state legislature to let them know that this is something that they're interested in. LD 2112 is the bill that was discussed yesterday by the EUT committee, Energy Utilities and Technologies Committee, for the 3rd or 4th time. And I think they're getting down to the very end of small strokes of hair orientation. Then what we still need to do is learn from others, including New Hampshire. And we need to design an actual program, and we need to see if there are communities interested enough, or entities like the Greater Portland Council of Governments or the Maine Municipal Association, which is tracking this and is kind of interested. Some other entity that might be willing to sort of set up joint powers authorities and make it start to happen. And then we have to have more hearings and gain more support and then make the law work. So it's kind of a chicken and egg situation that we're in right now. Next, please. So in sum, it is, I think it is fair to say it's time for a new approach to achieving local control over energy supply. The Our Power folks are still out there and they're supportive of this. I'm not precisely sure why, but except for the fact that it's more local control. And
Isn't their proposal about the wires?
yes, it is.
Not about the
Yes.
supply.
And there's some excellent people involved in there. You know, Sue Inch is a dear, wonderful person who was helped to found Maine Efficiency Trust. Very much wants utilities to be owned by municipalities. There are some who just almost a religious belief that that's what's needed.
So rather than a statewide.
Yeah.
she wants-
Yeah, well, it's all local ownership and Mainers voted against that approach. So CCAs are alive out there in 10 different states. Savings are being enjoyed. Community Power in New Hampshire is a great model that we ought to continue to monitor and see how it works. Local control can matter for innovation and for those groups that are now getting together and helping one another to innovate. How do we do storage with solar? How do we do solar on schools? How do we do new EV charging? All these different things. So it can be useful in Maine is my fundamental message and could be useful here in Scarborough. Next, please. So resources. And by the way, Jamie has this and has each of the live links here. LeanEnergyUS.org is the organization that has been studying and tracking all the different state implementations. That book on community choice is recently published by Lean Energy US, and that is a really good text on what this is all about. How if I'm speaking too rapidly or unclearly, you can dial into that book and see what it's really all about. CommunityPowerNewHampshire.gov is the site where you can learn what's happening today or any day and see examples of local electeds who are really taking it seriously and managing the system of energy acquisition. Clean Energy New Hampshire is a link to that nonprofit that's just collaborating with one another. There's the 25 CCAs in California have their own organization, cal-cca.org, and you can see the experience for those 15 million people. And the MCE Clean Energy has a link, which is doing so well. They're now serving as many customers in that we started as a one county, Marin Clean Energy, but it's serving entities in 4 counties. Still delivering the supply side for lower costs than Pacific Gas and Electric, which delivers the bills. And it is 100% greenhouse gas free. It is a real success story. Next, please. There's no guarantee that there will be lower prices. There's no guarantee that there will be higher compliance. This affords a new nimble way for people to get organized to make those things possible and to have more local control. Any questions?
Well, 9.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
Sorry about that. So are any of those communities in New Hampshire generating their own electricity for their entity?
Some are dialed into local solar farms. In New Hampshire, it's a very frustrating circumstance. The utilities are being incredibly slow approving,
Right.
you
We're seeing
know,
the same
solar
thing.
farms and so forth. And so there are some, it's spotty. There's still a lot of reliance on, RECs, which are real, generated by clean energy producers actually working. So a lot of the businesses fly by RECs, but.
Okay, and I think most of the folks here know that my childhood hometown has had community energy, both wires and supply for 100 years.
Which ones?
Longmont, Colorado.
Oh, yes.
And that entity has now taken over their Wi-Fi, their internet connections. And my dad pays half what I do for both electricity and internet. His stuff never goes down and mine goes down on daily. So I have been angling for this more local control, but I've been more interested in the hardware side, because that's where I see our bigger mistakes, our bigger problems on the hardware side with hardware that's not functioning. Are there any examples of these entities that have moved toward the hardware side?
Few. There is at least one that wants to do hydro for the first time. In Maine, we have a couple of jurisdictions that rely on historic hydro.
And we have a couple of jurisdictions that are their own poles and wires as well.
Yes,
So,
that's right.
okay,
And I would say, Arthur has his hand up, but I would say that one good thing that CMB is being pressured to do is do more upgrading of the conductoring and making more efficient the whole transmission system. I would not like to be in their business myself.
right, that's.
There's a lot of risk, especially when we have so many trees.
Let's go to Anton and all.
Jamie circulated, and it's part of the agenda. And it's excellent. I don't know how many of you have had a chance to take a look at this. There's a link in the agenda, and Jamie knows what I'm referring to, and it takes you to the Maine legislature bill tracking website. All the way over onto the right hand, there's testimony, and there's a variety of voices that are reflected there, from the Sierra Club to the Maine Municipal Association to AARP, Versant Power, and I for some reason, I took quite a while, and I went through many of these presentations, and I would encourage all of you to if you haven't had a chance to do that, because I think it's all well and good, local control and all of that. But it does raise many interesting issues, I think, and I would encourage everybody to take a look at this and get a little bit prepared. I don't feel like I want to go through and raise all of these points. I think you can see this for yourself. And quite frankly, it makes me pause and think about what local control actually entails for a municipality like Scarborough on a day-to-day basis where you deal with and I think the correct term that is used is not a broker, it's an aggregator. And so Scarborough would have to deal with an aggregator. The bill basically says that you have to have an affirmative opt-out. So once the town agrees with an aggregator, everybody in the town gets that, unless you opt out. The only thing that went through my mind on many of these things when I read this, and they talk about accounts receivable and who pays for bad debt and all of these things. But it just seemed to me that for the town of Scarborough, where we have really big fish to fry, I mean, in terms of schools and other things, that all of a sudden now we're going to be getting involved in dealing with electric suppliers. We're going to become our own aggregators. And if I were the town manager, I would be taking a look at this and saying, yeah, this is all well and good, and clean energy is terrific, but there's a potential for a big administrative or management headache. And that's what I was left with. But I would encourage all of you to look at some of these testimonies, and there's both pros and cons and neutrals, and think about it a little bit. The other thing that crossed my mind was how much of the standard offer electricity that we get comes from renewable sources. And right now, from what I saw, was about 50%. I think the target is 70 or 80% by 2030 and 100% by 2050. So I just wanted to share that, and I would encourage you to take a look at, and it's a link in the agenda. Take a look at it and form your own perspectives.
Thank you. That's extremely useful advice. And yes, there is a lot of different testimony. One of them that comes from Eliza Donahue, who is the head of the Renewable Energy Association suppliers, and she's in favor. I'm not sure if you could see the letter from Troy Moon, the sustainability officer in Portland, who's supportive of this and wants to know more and see how it might work. One of the great things about the New Hampshire experience, I'm on a town energy committee. I'm not doing hardly any work because the nonprofit entity, which has several competent staff, is doing the actual administrative work. And you're right, I shouldn't have so easily said broker. It is aggregators. Aggregators can be either for-profit or not-for-profit in their organizational structure. And I would personally advocate for a nonprofit organizational structure because the profits get held by the municipalities that are in it, not sent off to others, investors, and so forth.
Yeah, no, I appreciate all of that, and
you don't have to work on it.
I didn't open it up as an argument. I'm just reflecting what I read in the testimony, and it seems like that lower cost is not a slam dunk. That's all I'm saying. I think everybody should read it and start to form some of their own opinions.
Thank you. Excellent advice.
We've got Dan next, and then we'll go down to you. That's comfortable. Go ahead, Dan.
How much of this is about renewables versus cost of electricity? I mean, I guess what I'm asking, like, I know that it's both. I hear you talking about both. I feel in this kind of context, I'll just sort of make my point before you answer, but I am curious your answer, of course. It feels a little bit like the pitch for renewables is like a little bit of a distraction from the cost approach.
You are right. Most municipalities in New Hampshire who got in because they thought and felt and experienced that local control means lower cost. That's an easier sell across the board with the population at large in, I would say, red counties and blue. when you have a situation where you have more competitive buying and the opportunity to allow people to choose more, small percentage of people is as crazy as my family saying, we want 100% green energy. That's just a fact. So you're right, it is a more predominant selling point that it can be lower cost. And as has been said, there's no guarantee of it being either lower or renewable.
I mean, I think about this a little bit like the things that I get in the mail from, I don't know, I can't even name them, but that are trying to basically do this on a house by house basis. And this seems very similar. You're just doing it on a larger scale. I don't find that any of the people who opt into those programs are having issues with reliability of electricity getting to their houses. And that's why I bring it. Look, I build solar power plants for a living, so I'm a huge supporter. This is certainly not meant to be an attack on renewables, but I do think there's still a large perception that it's unreliable and that it creates an issue. And if we're going to like a larger percentage of renewables, that all of a sudden people are gonna not get electricity to their houses, and it turns people off. I fight that all the time. So I'm giving a little bit of feedback to the pitch. I think it seems pretty important to the story, but worth thinking about the story that you're telling.
I was in the solar industry for 13 years. We were selling to school districts and municipalities in California, lower cost renewable solar. But the selling process in the solar industry is too much of the cost of doing business. And if you had to make fewer decisions selling to the Greater Portland Council of Governments or to whoever who steps up to be a local joint powers authority, wouldn't that make life easier? You've got a question.
The town is currently in a supply agreement right now. We need to remember that. is that
Which one?
Well, for the town
For the town.
facilities.
So-
Town municipal meters.
Yes, yeah. So we're in one of those big user,
Yes.
which is allowed. And so like me as a resident, which I don't have that option, I mean, wouldn't that be like such a boom to, if all of us had the option to do the same thing as the town, to lock into a competitive rate that if we did choose could be 100% renewable, which of course will be moot point when we get to 100% in the state in 2030 or whatever. But you know, I don't want to pay 20 cents in January. Like
Right.
if the town isn't, like, yeah.
It took it took more than 15 years for the first operating one in Marin County to go from 99% cost and control focus to now being 100% greenhouse gas free and lower cost. It takes time. It's a chicken and egg process.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Long question, maybe a stupid question, but. Everybody talks about bigger is better. We're gonna go to local control and you're gonna have all these little pieces of energy buyers. As opposed to one big energy buyer. Seems as though a big energy buyer should be able to get lower prices than a lot of little energy buyers. What is different about this approach? And why can't our current system do exactly what this is doing?
They're constrained by law and practice, and they want to be as efficient as they can, but they have one chance a year to do the pricing. I think they do it in November, which is one of the worst months of the year to do it because you've got that ramp up of winter costs and ramp up of gas production. And you're right. I believe that it's not true that smaller is more beautiful always, and that bigger can be more efficient. Why does the chair of the PUC agree that having this in place would make more nimble, more market responsive, more flexible, and potentially more competitive pricing?
We fix the rules at the state.
I'm asking,
Yeah,
I'm
I think-
asking you that
yeah,
question.
yeah, well,
Explain it to me. I
Yeah.
don't understand. Even, I mean, if it's a law, we're trying to get a law. Why don't we change the current law that says these guys can be more nimble? That's their responsibility, is to drive the price down, as opposed to saying, okay, now we gotta have 8,000 little individual buyers who some may be good at it and some may be terrible at it and cause those people grief.
Yeah.
Just,
It-
I don't care either way. I'm
Right,
just
and-
asking why we don't do
And,
it that
and
way.
by the way, it's gonna be more like a couple of dozen, not 8,000. It could be two. In New Hampshire, it's one community power group that is doing this instead of the utilities doing it.
So it's basically what we have now, except they have laws that say you can reduce the price by, I mean, you know, saying that you have to buy once a year was done because prices were going up and they could get it done at some lower price and then you wouldn't be buying when it was higher later.
Yeah.
How do we know that's not gonna happen? I mean, there's all of these risks. I don't understand why currently we can't drive those people to do exactly what all of these groups are gonna
And that
try
may
to
happen,
do.
that may happen.
The suppliers though are who would be supplying the electricity for the aggregate are already serving big users, so they. Not that there's not risk, but they're not. Like, they're already experts.
They
in
have some
competitive
scale, yes.
pricing. Yeah,
You wouldn't hire, if you set up a nonprofit board that oversees, you'd hire those aggregators who know how to really do their work and prove that they know how to do their work. And there are a couple of them who, probably three good ones who are working in Maine right now.
And the PUC can't do that.
They're not allowed to.
Okay, so it's a change in the law.
Change in the law.
Oh, we're
Well,
trying to
That's
change
why-
the
I
law.
think that's why people like, there was the effort to have it be CMP, be, state run, I mean, because
Yeah,
it's a,
I lived,
it's a for-profit.
I lived in
so,
Omaha for 30 years and they had a thing called the Omaha Public Power District, which is a nonprofit. Elected officials, and we had the cheapest electricity you could find because it was run by that committee.
3/4 of the geography of the United States is rural electric co-ops. Local oversight, local control, everybody knows who is involved. Unfortunately, there are a lot of circumstances where it's, Bill buying from Bob and getting, and.
Yeah, I'm not,
But
I'm not trying to say what you're saying is, I just don't understand why we can't more easily change what we have than create all of these
new entities, yep,
entities.
yep. Well, I wanted to let you know what this phrase CCA, community choice aggregation, means, what it might mean. And if someday the sustainability crew within the Greater Portland COG says, hey, we want to have a conversation about this, you'll be prepared to understand what that conversation is about. I've spoken with the sustainability officer for GP COG, and she's very interested in this, and the people in the Maine Municipal Association, they're very interested in this. They want to see how it goes. Everybody's waiting a little bit for somebody else to be first in. Make it happen. I've taken a lot of your time and I really, really appreciate your interest, and thank you for.
Yes, thank you.
If I may just stay and listen, what you.
Lydia, did you have another comment or question?
No.
It looked like you were ready to jump in. Okay,
It's exciting.
okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments on this topic before we move on?
Can we just talk about what you want for next
Um,
steps on this, or just kind of keep tabs on progress, no action from this committee, or does this committee want to take it up again next meeting and talk about how we might have next steps?
I mean, one option is to try to get something through the town council to send in for support. My sense of
That
the
would be okay.
timing is that we are behind the 8 ball on that.
Maybe, but it wouldn't hurt. I mean, if town council were willing to do that, they might need a conversation like this, but, then that would be helpful. But soon, I believe, in the next week or so, the EUT committee will be voting on this to kick it out to the legislature as a whole. And then it will become, wide open day for anybody to make comments and so forth. I promise to you that I can keep you informed of the progress. And if the EUT committee says no and shuts it down and it doesn't go anywhere, I'll let you know. If they say, yes, it's going forward, I'll let you know. So you'll be aware of what might happen. It's gonna happen relatively quickly this spring if it's going to be passed.
So
The
what's it-
learning curve here is huge to understand.
Mhm.
Town council would have no clue
Yeah.
what to do with it. So sending it to them would be a foolhardy approach.
And
Being kept informed of where this is going, because there's gonna be a long learning curve for the communities that are considering this. And we don't need to be lax, but we do need to do
can I-
it on an informed basis.
I'm
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, can I add something? I don't think, personally, I don't think it should be done until you go to the link that Jamie sent all of us and read all of the pros and the cons, and we think through what the implications of all of this are. There is testimony in there from the Maine Municipal Association, and it says very clearly here that they're neither for nor against it. And so I just think we need to do our homework before we go rushing off.
Their testimony.
There's a lot to consider, and I think there's an administrative overhead that also needs to be considered for the town. And that's all I have to say.
The Maine Municipal Association's testimony was given before they had any presentation of what it might mean or how it works. So that's why they were neither for.
I don't know, the date of that was January 22nd. So, I mean, I all I know is what I'm looking at.
And I made the.
I mean, they're
presentation to them on the
concerned about
24th.
what's. Well, they're obviously from what they said. Again, I'm not arguing. I'm just saying we need to do our homework.
All right, let me jump in
Excellent.
here and suggest that anybody who has the time or inclination, review the materials on the state legislative website. If you're, and then send, if you do that, send your opinion or your concerns or your comments to the list. And if there's a groundswell of support for this, we can try to move forward quickly. It is my sense that if it's in sort of final, I mean, having watched other bills go through other committees, that if it's at that stage, the decision point is probably in the next couple of weeks.
For the committee.
Well, the committee probably in the next week or so, we would think.
Yeah.
And then things typically move out of committee and it's usually just a couple of weeks before they're finished in the legislature. But that's usually I mean, sometimes it gets slowed down, but that's often a quick process. So my recommendation is that we learn about it and we monitor. I don't think we can make a decision as a committee until our next meeting.
right,
And if this remains an open question at our next meeting, I would suggest that we talk about it more at our next meeting. If it is a closed question before our next meeting, we'll continue to monitor. We should get a report back as to what the decision was. And if the decision was positive from the state legislature, then we should start talking about what that would mean in Southern Maine or in Scarborough, or what that might mean for us. But I don't hear that we're ready to make a decision as a committee today. And Bill is encouraging us to have quite a bit more confidence and information before we go to town council. So,
Everyone do some research ahead of the
Yes.
next meeting,
well, in
thinking
the
in
next,
mind how we would present this to town council.
in the next week or two,
Yeah,
because
okay, and share
if we're
the
gonna,
detail.
I mean, we can have a conversation by email.
Mhm.
If several of us decide that this is something we want to move forward on.
Sure.
So that we're better prepared for our next meeting, but certainly something to monitor. And I'm not sure how to get these legislative efforts turned around to where the municipalities are looped in earlier on issues that might affect municipalities. I mean, we just kind of lucked out that this one that we'll talk about next got deferred, and that we had an opportunity to try to talk about it before it got through. But even that timeline proved difficult for us. And so, I mean, it seems like a lot to ask our sustainability coordinator to read through all of the bills at the beginning of closure. That's not something that has to be done. But I think the message might go back to the nonprofits working on these things, that in those early drafting phases, to start to contact some of the sustainability content. Or I'm not sure how to make this go more smoothly, because there are several bills that I've wanted us to be able to weigh in on. And we have never been nimble enough.
Yeah.
To be able to pull that off.
And part of the challenge is that every municipality has a different process. So the process in Scarborough is that things come through advisory committees before it goes to the town council. So it usually requires at least 2 meetings of this group so that we can kind of get ourselves up to speed and have the ability to pull something together that then goes to the town council. So yeah, it's a multi-month process for Scarborough, and it doesn't often align with legislative.
Do you guys have some sort of regular meeting or regular communications of the sustainability coordinators here in Southern Maine?
Not, well, yes, but it's like, there's so much that like legislation doesn't often hit the agendas. It's often more kind of like when the rubber hits the road type of things.
Right, which is too late.
Because
So
I
I'm
was
just trying-
interested in how GP cog is treating with this. Because there is the collection of
Okay.
everybody, all of us in this region.
Well, I think we're not gonna solve this problem in this meeting or in this context, but I think this is a message back to the nonprofits that are, or to the orgs that are doing this work.
The element of communication is that Sophie Warren reps most of Scarborough, is on the EUT committee. And she was initially skeptical until she got deeper into whether this would cost more or whether or not it would protect life participants and so forth. And she, I believe, is satisfied at this point. We'll see how she votes. But she could communicate to
Yes. That would be helpful.
Okay, well, let's continue thinking about that.
Like, could we invite her once a year or something? To our meeting?
That's certainly something, well, she's now running for Senate, and I don't know, that's the difficulty with
Right.
the legislature, is you don't know from
can't make
session to
meetings.
session who's going to be in those roles and what our contacts will be. So.
And it would make
if-
sense for them to come in January because that's when all the bills are introduced, but that's also their super busy time,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's hard.
And so, Jamie, I think I would task you with bringing this question up in the context of the sustainability coordinators. And maybe also GP cog, and just see how we might be better looped in on
Yeah.
things. To be better able to have the conversation at the local level and make a decision as to how we might want to intervene.
Good place to leave it at this point.
Okay, so we will monitor this. You'll let us know what the status is. Folks who want to learn more will learn more. Thank you, Anton, for pointing out the testimony piece. And if you find something that you think we need to share with the group, please share that by email as soon as you identify it. Anton, if you have a sense of a couple of pieces of testimony you think are first reads, that could be useful. And let's leave it there for now. Any additional comment or question?
I'll just let you know, as part of the follow-up from this meeting, I'll resend out the link to the legislative materials for this bill.
And it is in the agenda.
Yeah.
If somebody's looking for it, before that comes across, but Jamie's very quick, so it'll probably be. All right, it is 8:55, which, no, it's not, anymore, but we
No.
asked the questions. Your presentation material was about what you indicated. And so we have updates and we have new business, old business. So old business was the Superfund cost recovery program. And I think I sent an update to the group that it seems like Representative Warren's support had softened on that. And I don't know, but maybe that's what got in the way of our ask for Brenner's office to send a letter. I have repeated that ask a couple of times. I've not had responses to that. I know there's a lot of other things going on. And so we do not have that letter that we requested that we would send forward. And so then I think the question for the committee is, do we send that forward without the letter? We decided to send that forward pending the letter. And are we comfortable sending that forward without the letter? If so, I will go to the meeting on March 4th.
Well, it's not officially on the agenda yet, so,
Okay,
so that's part of the discussion today also, and hearing from Bill in terms of, you said you've talked to Corey and he is supportive or interested in learning more.
Exactly.
Um,
It's in leadership, town council leadership's hands.
okay.
I raised it with him last week to make sure that he was still, and he said he would take it up with.
Okay, so
Vice
if
Chair.
that makes the agenda. I have never been chair of this committee when we've taken something to council. What is it that council wants from me from this committee? And we've got the resolution.
They'll just need a little bit of some background education on like what this all entails and what it means for Scarborough and for the state. And so just providing some summary information, a memo will accompany it to give some of that background information. Their council packets are so full though, who knows how much attention they will give to that specific item. So it's helpful to have a brief kind of like overview presentation,
3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
kind of
Okay.
queuing it up.
And so again, I just don't understand protocol or procedures. So if that comes to the table, do I wait for somebody to? That kind of angle?
Yeah, I mean, I would talk to Tom ahead of time and let him know that you would be the one that's going to introduce it, and at
Okay,
that point,
that's
he
what we
would,
need to know.
he
So
would
I
call
will
you up.
communicate with Tom.
Yeah, but I can do that.
Oh, you'll communicate with Tom and let him know that we're prepared to
Yeah.
do that.
We would be.
To speak to that. And it's my understanding that from this committee, we think this is a laudable goal. It fits within so I'm still tired of not thinking my words here. But it fits within the framework of both the super fund and the tobacco settlements kind of a situation of organizations that knew the harms that their actions were generating, lied about that, and have left us carrying the ballot. And so this is an attempt to claw back some of that we recognize that there will be lawsuits. Do we say that? I mean, that's been our committee's sense.
Or recognize that it'll likely be challenged.
That'll likely be challenged. And that some of those challenges are going through the court system as we speak. And that this is us saying, we also agree that this is something that needs to be addressed. Is that our position? Okay. I think I have what I need for that then.
So at this,
When did you say it would go to council?
that's what I was just getting to, Dan. So possibly the 4th, but I think at this point, it's probably more likely the 18th, just because I don't know how far along the agenda is set for next week's meeting.
Okay.
Um,
And in this case also, I would recommend that we monitor the status of this bill. And that if it has been through process before we're coming to council, we withdraw that.
Yeah.
And we can continue to monitor.
Well, and I would also say if it fails this time around, chances are it's going to be brought back, because that's
Yeah.
often how bills work. You know, if it's not successful the first time, they'll try again. They'll make modifications and try again. So if it passes, I say we withdraw, and if it doesn't, we may want to have a discussion on moving forward, because then if it does come back, our support will already be there and we won't have to go through this.
That wouldn't, to
Again.
me, feel timely. But we couldn't maintain contact with the orgs on the ground. And we're in a better position to move forward. That we could intervene in January rather than.
Yeah.
We could be ready to
That's fair.
present to, like, we'll know by December we'll know by
We'll know
November
by
if they're putting it in.
when they vote, yeah.
Like after the new
After
legislature's
cloture.
elected, they will find a bill sponsor. Once they find a bill sponsor, I think it is reasonable for us to take it up again. And be in contact with them anyway. All right, so I feel like I have what I need on that one. And then,
And I'll keep you all looped in for when it goes to council or when
Okay.
it's likely to be on the agenda.
okay, and we are at 9 o'clock. Are there
Typically, we go to 9:30. I was thinking
Oh.
that we might, I mean, the agenda says till 9. Normally, our meetings go till 9:30, as you all know, so
Okay.
if everybody's.
I'm so tired, I'm just reading it like, oh, we're supposed to be done at 9.
Yeah. If everyone's good to stay until 9:30, I was thinking we would move through the agenda more quickly than we did, but we definitely have 30 minutes that we
Okay.
typically
Right.
continue with the meeting, so.
So
people are good
I
to stay
would
till
love to
9:30.
have updates if we have useful updates. I appreciate that. If you need to leave, go ahead and do so.
Is it possible to cool down?
Oh my gosh.
Just
Push a 90
Bye.
from
Is
the
it?
thermometer. I don't know how accurate that's.
It's like my grandmother's apartment.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
Like,
Yeah.
I know Jamie said that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because the doors closed, so we're just like an oven in here.
Like all of us overdressed.
Right.
So I was
Yeah.
happy to turn off the power, but if we're ready to-
Should sustainably, don't think the snow.
So, well, that's.
Pay no attention to the open.
Because that's really the most efficient way to manage temperature.
It's open the windows.
Yeah. Yeah. And just be outside. and
Don't let the
sunset.
news catch this. but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Window during
I am-
Sustainability committee.
For a couple of years.
I know, it's the same.
Yeah.
I lived in a basement apartment that was a converted coal cellar. And the heat for the apartment was the like converted coal steam boiler that was now running on natural gas. And so if it was cold, you opened the door to the boiler room. And if it was hot, you opened windows, but there was no other, like, there was no like
Ecosystem.
automatic control of the system. It was wild. Anyway, that's what this reminded me of, and that was not important for you to know, but, town council updates.
I'll be brief because I don't think there's anything that is directly related to this committee. The cannabis ordinance is being amended to protect neighborhoods from odor. And we have a proposal that it be 5 complaints. And we're gonna go down to 2 complaints confirmed. And it's hard to confirm these complaints. That's part of the problem. Police go out after a complaint is made and they have to identify the cannabis facility that's causing it. So it's a problem, but that's ongoing. Short-term rentals, again, is to protect neighborhoods from transient use, unknown people coming and going. And that looks like it's going to be favorably reviewed as well. So we'll be changing that.
Okay. Planning board.
I don't have a planning board update and Helen's wasn't able to join us today, so we can skip that one for the time being. If there's anything like pressing for this group to know, I'll send it out as part of the update.
Thanks, Jamie. Conservation Commission.
Conservation Commission is working on the supporting the development of the LID ordinance. So this is going to theoretically change how development happens in Scarborough. The goal is to get it before the ordinance committee over the summer. This is a requirement of our stormwater permit. And on the heels of LD 1829, it may be important to have some more regulations, requirements in place for how people are developing their land. So,
Okay.
Very timely for that one.
Transportation.
Transportation Committee, they met last night, so I do not have an update specifically from that meeting, but I do know that at their March meeting, Metro will be there to talk about their fixed route, the fixed route that they've settled on for Scarborough that I heard yesterday is hopefully starting in July. And so it looks like it's going to be largely down Route 1 and up into the Downs. That's where they're starting. The hope is that it will be successful in Scarborough and may be able to expand in the future. And so they will be presenting, I think there's information on their website about that fixed route, and they'll be presenting that to the Transportation Committee. next month. There will also be a presentation next month to the Transportation Committee about the Route 1 pilot project for the project going over the marsh, where DOT is proposing that we close a lane northbound on Route 1. They say their traffic counts support that the road can handle that. And that for when we do the project on Route 1 to raise it, put a bridge over the marsh crossing. And also add bike and ped facilities. That would be the reason that they're gonna close down a lane so that we maintain the same footprint. Largely the same footprint, but provide for active transportation across.
I thought that bike and ped had been moved over to the Eastern Trail in that plot.
That was what we were working with, but this is basically a once in a generation opportunity to add bike and ped facilities on Route 1.
Okay.
And so that's what we're pursuing.
Okay, question on I think it's the same question I always ask. Does the bus route system include conversations about?
So yes, part of the update today will be on our climate action plan. We had our first advisory group committee meeting yesterday, and Metro was there, so I was able to put the plug in for that.
Thank you.
And so it doesn't really currently include parking facilities, but they said that they are interested in talking with like Maine Med to do a park and ride park and ride option there, and looking at other existing underutilized parking where they may be able to form partnerships so that there is park and ride opportunities if people want to park and then ride the bus into Portland.
And again, that's gonna be a critical point,
Right.
being able to advertise this and being able to encourage people to
Yeah.
use it.
Yeah, the other thing that is going along with this too is their micro transit. So the thought also is that people could call like on-demand micro to get to a stop if they don't want to, if they're either they don't want to leave their vehicle, they don't have a vehicle, or there aren't parking lot facilities available.
Okay. And so hopefully what they're doing is at each of their stops, they're working with local businesses to try to figure out what people. might
Yeah, I think
park
it's still very new, so they
Yeah.
are looking for, they had already said that they were meeting with Maine Med this week, and so that is going to be something that they're going to talk about.
That's it. And hopefully they're also open to moving some of their stops.
I think so.
Because-
I don't think the stops, I don't think will be the same as like
as the previous bus.
the existing stops.
Right, because when I was able to park in town hall and had permission to do that as well, and then they fixed the stops and didn't go down there. So, that's true, I was the only one riding, at least the time I was riding.
Yeah.
But I couldn't in good faith encourage anyone else to ride the bus, and part of riding the bus involved arguing with business owners and getting nasty grounds on your car window about how you're not allowed to park there.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Okay, sorry, I just have to say that every time we talk about the bus. Yeah, I know that road. All right, and so climate action plan, met.
Yeah, so we
but-
had advisory group meeting yesterday. We had about 30 members of staff in the community. Working with our consultants, doing small group breakouts to discuss the various topics that are going to be outlined in the climate action plan, and to discuss potential like solutions for how we reduce our emissions. Once I get all of the information, the analysis and stuff in a palatable form, I'm happy to share it with this group. But we are starting with our community engagement, so I'll pass this around. This is kind of the fact sheet and I'll send it out in email. Also, the fact sheet that kind of introduces,
Oh, no, I was at the meeting, so I'm good.
and I'll email it also, but it introduces the climate action plan, the full campaign called Sustaining Scarborough. We have a quick poll out now to get some community feedback on energy use. So that has been posted on the town website, or excuse me, on town social media. It is on sustainingscarborough.org, which is going to now be the home for all things climate action plan in Scarborough, and probably beyond the climate action plan once we get it all fully built out. And there will be information going out in the town newsletter on the 1st, so Sunday, about the climate action plan, about the first quick poll. There will be a series of 3 quick polls between now and June. And so it would be really helpful if you guys are on Facebook or Instagram, if you can share those out to your networks so that we can get some good participation and feedback with that.
Jamie, when those things happen.
I'll
can
give you a
send
heads
us
up.
links to them because, again, the algorithm is not showing me town stuff. I'm following the town, but I'm having to go in and actively look for town. posts.
Yep, I can try to send a link directly to the post so that you can share. You should.
Tell us to go look at
To
the
go look
page.
at the
I'm willing to do
Facebook
it that way.
Yeah.
But I'm just missing these things when they happen.
And then other community engagement events are going to be scheduled coming up this spring, so we'll be trying to hit kind of all facets of the community. So we'll be doing story times at the library, hoping to do some trivia nights, possibly at Allagash Brewing, working through the business community, partnering with the chamber, and also with SEDCO to do business focus groups. So there's a lot. There's going to be a lot coming this spring and summer related to the plan.
Excellent. Will there be tasks for this committee?
The biggest, I think, is going to just help us spread the word at this point. And like I said, I'm happy to share the data and analysis if anyone wants to dig into that and kind of ask questions. And make sure that, you know, everything is based on 2024 data. So all of our like CMP, natural gas, all of that stuff, and it's community wide. Also, like EV registrations, available EV chargers, like at the full gamut.
Okay. And then, I don't know if everybody else is already adding at this point. Wow, it's hard to get 25 points. I have to get back on the bus and I don't work over there anymore. So, in any case, it's a very competitive thing to do. Thank you. But you might want to have like another level.
Okay, I'll give them that feedback. So for those online who
I'm
can't look at the fact sheet, the back of the fact sheet, it basically is kind of like a self-evaluation, like what are you doing in terms of sustainability? And are you basically like a sustainability mastermind, which I think everybody would expect Deb to be given all the
I am
upgrades.
not.
And she's not,
I
so
can only get 22 points and some
I
of
think
those
that
are
that's
50.
still really good.
I know, but it feels like
Maybe
a
we
crisis,
lower
and
the
I'm not
point
gonna
number,
solve
so
it.
it's 22 plus.
Yeah, I think so.
You don't have to set it for me, I don't mean that at all. I just mean that this feels really unattainable.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Just based on what the point schedule is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good call. See, this is why I bring stuff to you guys. So
I
yeah.
wanna be a mastermind, please. Okay, go ahead.
Good question, who's the consultant who's helping?
Kim Lundgren Associates. They're a woman-owned firm out of Massachusetts, and this is all they do is climate action plan for municipalities.
Right, and either Patrice or I will bring this up at the Piper Shore Sustainability Collaborative tomorrow afternoon, and let them know what's going on.
Jen is on the advisory group.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. Building committee. Is that Dan?
Yeah, I just wanted to see if you had heard, because I don't think anyone from the sustainability committee was chosen for the building committee.
Are you effing?
We talked a lot about buildings yesterday.
Yeah. Dan, did you ever hear anything?
This is on me, and I've not fulfilled my mission here. But it is on my list here to get going, so I will do that and have.
Did you apply?
I did not talk to Rick, is his name, I think.
Oh, yeah, so Rick Meinking was also going to apply. I think that they've chosen the ad hoc committee. Bill, do you know if they've
I don't.
chosen? Okay, this ad hoc committee for this new school build, so, I thought that I had seen on their website that they've already named who's on that committee. So, but
Can you reach out to them and ask for special dispensation?
well, I mean, and the meetings are open to the public, so anybody can,
Yeah,
can go.
we had talked about, I think, just sort of being there as a observer even more than a participant, just to be able to keep this committee informed.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Any more comments or questions? Well, y'all know what your homework is. It is in fact to read about community choice aggregation programs. And watch for updates on Climate Superfund and also this bill. And if we can move fast enough to do anything productive, we'll do it. And if not, we'll continue to watch and monitor. So thanks all. Motion to adjourn, vote by standing.
Thanks.